So the cops came to my apartment yesterday at 8 o'clock in the morning. They knocked on my door. They identified themselves as the Toronto police. I walked over, I looked through the peephole, I saw the police officers there. I locked my door. I walked back into my apartment. I didn't speak to them. I didn't acknowledge that they were even there. I did not interact with them. I didn't refuse to speak to them. I just ignored them completely. Picked up my phone. I called my lawyer. I managed to get a hold of one of my lawyer's associates. I told my lawyer's associate that the police were outside my door and that they had identified themselves, but they had refused to indicate why they were there, and that they had tried to get me to open the door. And while I was talking to my lawyer's associate, the police officers started smashing on my door, trying to break my door down. My lawyer's associate heard them. I said, "Can you hear them? They're trying to break my door down." My lawyer's associate said, "Yes, I can hear them. Be cool. I'm going to contact your lawyer. I'm going to get a conference call going so that the three of us can talk." I said, "Okay." He hung up on me. The lawyers could hear me, the police officers could hear me talking to my lawyer through the door. They walked down to the end of my hallway so that they could whisper amongst themselves without me hearing them, but they didn't leave. I could see that by looking through the peephole. I sat and I waited for my lawyer to call me back. My lawyer called me back, and there was a conference call between me, my lawyer's associate, and my lawyer. I was on the phone talking to them, explaining to them that the police officers were outside my apartment. They had tried to break my door down, that I had not interacted with them in any way. I didn't even acknowledge that they existed. Apparently they got somebody to give them a key because they unlocked my door after unsuccessfully trying to break it down, and they entered my apartment without my consent. They had no warrant. I was on the phone to my lawyer and his associate, and it's a good thing that I was, because they opened the door and they took a step into my apartment, and I was looking right at them. And I'm talking to them, I'm talking to my lawyer, I'm talking to them, I'm talking to my lawyer. What should I do? "Excuse me, officer, pardon me for a moment, I'm trying to talk to my lawyer." In the end, I hung up on my lawyer. The cops put handcuffs on me. They said something about a mental health act. They weren't there to detain me. They had no search warrant. They had no warrant for my arrest. They had no crime that I had committed. They could not identify a crime that I committed. There was no victim. There was no crime. There was no nothing. There were two police officers that tried unsuccessfully to smash my door down and break into my apartment. Then they got my superintendent to unlock my door without my consent. They walked in. They put me in handcuffs. They took me out of my building. How humiliating to be fucking taken out of my building by two police officers in handcuffs. They drove me over to a psychiatric institution. They took me to the hospital. I talked to a psychiatrist about my YouTube channel. After having a brief conversation with the psychiatrist ordered the police officers to take the handcuffs off me, and they let me go. And I walked away. They had no warrant for my arrest. They had no crime that they could identify, no suspicion of a crime, no victim, no nothing. They just showed up at my house and tried to break my door down without ever stating in any conclusive way what I was accused of having done. I didn't commit any crime. There was no victim. There was no nothing. They just broke into my house, handcuffed me behind my back, and forced me to a police car and took me to a psych ward. Now, fortunately, I talked to the psychiatrist and they let me go. But by 11 o'clock in the morning, I was walking out the front door with the handcuffs off. But that doesn't change the reality of what happened. Why did they break into my apartment and put me in handcuffs and drag me off? Because of my YouTube channel. Just because of this YouTube channel. This YouTube channel was enough for them to break into my house, handcuff me, and drag me to a fucking psychiatric institution. That's Canada. That's the country that we live in.